Okay, so the best place to start with mental health training, I believe, is creating a group of mental health first aiders. You're going to want to do other awareness pieces alongside this, and I can explain those more fully in other videos. But just to give you a short overview as to what to expect with a mental health first aid course or the group that you're going to kind of create internally, I'll explain a little bit about it now. So I work with lots of different organisations. So I have helped create mental health first aid networks in lots of different industries, people from different ages, different backgrounds, different walks of life. And I do believe that these courses create this wonderful network of people that are going to be there to be that first line of support to people within your team and also to people in their lives as well. I think they get a lot out of it personally as well as professionally. So a mental health first aid course is very similar in essence to a physical first aid course. Some of the barriers or the concerns I've heard over the years is people worrying that they're going to have to be a counsellor or a therapist, or they're going to have to take on someone else's challenges and solve that. The reality is a mental health first aider isn't any of those things. The same way that a physical first aider doesn't carry out operations, they don't prescribe medication, and they don't try and diagnose what's wrong with somebody. It's the same with mental health first aid. But the same way with physical first aid, you'd be that first response in potentially an accident or a crisis. It's similar, but it has the mental health perspective in mind. So what we teach people is how to learn to spot signs and symptoms of mental ill health in the workplace, because sometimes they can be obvious, but sometimes they can be quite subtle. And it's really important to know what we're looking for and to know the range of what we could be looking out for. So we learn to spot signs and symptoms. We help to raise confidence of people that come on the course by doing lots of different activities that help really ingrain the learning and give them a chance to practice case studies, practice scenarios. What would they do in certain situations? And they can brainstorm it and talk through it together. And by the end of the course, hopefully somebody has the skills to be able to spot signs and symptoms, know how to talk about mental health and have the confidence to start a conversation if they think someone's in distress. Be able to offer compassionate, empathetic listening without judgment, and then be able to signpost someone on to further support that might be useful to that person. So some of the support that we talk about is professional support. And in lots of cases, for me, it was really important. And lots of other people that I know, this is a really important step. So we should be advocating it and encouraging it. But it's not going to be needed in every scenario. Lots of people can experience poor mental health, which we explain more about that on the course. But it doesn't necessarily mean they have a diagnosable condition. And so self-care is an area that I'm really passionate about, and that can be something that the mental health first aider can encourage the person they're supporting to engage with more. Looking at any lifestyle adjustments, any changes that they might want to make to sort of daily habits or routines to better support their well-being. And also to be aware of what other support they have in their lives and who they can turn to and who might look out for them in these situations. We do also train people how to respond in an emergency, and we have part of the course where we focus on crisis first aid. So the types of emergencies that we consider with mental health first aid, the key and the most difficult potentially, but the most impactful, is suicidal crisis. So there are courses that go into more in-depth knowledge on suicide crisis and prevention, but we do cover it in the mental health first aid course to give that background for somebody. But probably a more common crisis that people will encounter in the workplace is panic attacks. So we watch a video and we talk through how we would respond to somebody who is experiencing a panic attack. And as someone who's had quite a few panic attacks in the workplace, I think it's so important when people know the best way to treat you and support you during that time and then directly afterwards as well. So the course is laid out in a really interactive way. Some of it is me talking, lots of it is us all talking together as a group. And whether people join online or whether it's a face-to-face course, there's lots of opportunity for group discussion in smaller groups and also one-to-one discussion as well. We do activities where people work together on case studies. We watch videos and we analyse how we feel about certain interactions. We also do one-on-one or groups of 3 in a different conversation practice to practice listening skills. So I absolutely love the course. I find new information every single session because there's a huge amount of warmth that are created in these courses, and people often feel comfortable to share their own experiences that really highlight why this is so important and help to break down the stigma just in the session alone. So if you think this is something that would be useful for your team, I can talk you through in more detail who you might want to go on the course. But ultimately, you want the person to want to be there because they're going to make the most impact and difference to your team if they're invested or they've bought into this topic area. So do get in touch if you would like to think about creating a mental health first aid network within your organisation.